Hello guys, my name is Amit Sani and I welcome you in this daily UPSC MCQ series and Mission 2020 we are taking here. And some of you students who demanded polity questions there, so today I am bringing some polity questions here and some crucial issues we will talk here. Some current affair based issues are also there. So let's start the lesson. In 24th June it is, and in the morning the Hindu paper analysis videos they come, and in the evening these MCQ lessons they come. Both in Hindi and English language you get these lessons, and please follow them religiously. They will be very much useful. And affordable courses by StudyIQ, very important one by top faculties and a very approachable one for the next year's Civil Services Examination. So for all the stages, prelims, mains and interview, you are getting prepared here, and you can call on these numbers. All the queries you can ask here on this website address, and PDF you will get here in this Facebook group, and you can follow me on Telegram also. The link is also given there, and StudyIQ is a Telegram group you must have joined already. So there also I upload these PDFs. Now, question is regarding martial law and national emergency in India. You see, martial law, it's not found in many of the constitutions of the world, and here it's a kind of an anomaly. We were ruled by Britishers, so their aim was totally different, and they were not treated us as proper human beings, and their ways were very much drastic. And it's a kind of a big mistake according to some experts, that just for the sake of controlling the people and having enormous power by the center, martial law still exists in India, and it's a problematic thing. Many times we have seen many issues, and like national emergency which is there in some rare instances, and many changes are there during emergency and during the martial law both. But martial law is very much severe. It is localized. Where martial law is applied in that area, all the government ordinary laws all are suspended, and only the military rules there. And during national emergency is a wide scale phenomena, and president has a lot of powers. President have this power that it may suspend the Article 32, the enforcement of the fundamental rights, and it may specifically mention all those articles which would be suspended during that time. And national emergency was imposed in 75, as we all know, and that was very much infamous in its sense, and the grounds were also very much unjustified. So during national emergency, state governments, they may remain there, and center has enormous powers at that time. Parliament has enormous powers, and it may suspend, or they may not suspend the governments. So it's not the case that mandatorily all the governments would be suspended. It is not the case. So second is correct, first is also correct, because martial law does not affect the center state relations. It national emergency, it affects the center state relations. Martial law affects the fundamental rights severely. That's the case. Okay, so C, both 1 and 2 is the answer here. Imposition of martial law affects only fundamental rights. The line you should remember here. And in the case of national emergency, not only fundamental rights but also center state relations. There is a whole chapter of center state relations, and the whole chapter of emergency, how it can be imposed, how you can continue the emergency, how it can be stopped, and what are the implications, what is the role of parliament at that time. All these things, they are given in the chapter there, and you must go through those chapters of Lakshmikant. Actually, every chapter in Lakshmikant book, that is a gold mine for the UPSC aspirants, and many questions are there which are direct from that particular book, and every line has questions. So I always suggest that every day for 1 hour read M. Lakshmikant's Indian Polity. Okay, that's the case. Next, with reference to the Constituent Assembly, we know our constitution was made by Constituent Assembly, and according to the scheme formulated by Cabinet Mission, the Cabinet Mission plan came in 1946, and that was the most successful one of all those important missions. And according to that, constitution was created. So you must know all the details: how many members were there, how many were there who left it, and who joined it, who did not join it, what was the way followed there. So all the details regarding Cabinet Mission Plan and the Constituent Assembly, those should be on your fingertips. Here the idea of Constituent Assembly was given by M.N. Roy. It was not B.N. Rao. B.N. Rao was the constitutional advisor. CA. Okay, and he was there, and the assembly was constituted under the scheme formulated by the cabinet mission. So second is correct. Only 2 is the correct answer. First statement is wrong. Okay, you see M.N. Roy, a pioneer of communist movement in India, and advocate of radical democratism. So a very fierce leader. And in 1935, 1 year later, when he proposed about the Constituent Assembly, 1 year later, INC, Indian National Congress, for the first time officially demanded a Constituent Assembly to frame the Constitution of India. So that was the first case officially by the INC, which was the major party at that time. And assembly was constituted in 26 November 1946, as we all know, and the date is very much important, and formulated by Cabinet Mission Plan. So that's the case. Next, Under Representation of Peoples Act 1951, the most important act, which is separately mentioned in the UPSC syllabus also. RPA Act, important for prelims and mains both. Election Commission of India has the power to cancel polls. If there is muscle power, we all know it is correct. Booth capturing, simple provision. Money power, we all know. These all are obvious options. But you see, there is a trick. For the third one, use of money power, it is not having any kind of a specific mention. And there are no specific provision regarding cancelling of polls due to the money power use. That's the problem. And today it's the biggest menace, you see, because today booth capturing and the muscle power, these are not the bigger phenomena, and we have a controlled election. But the use of money power has become so huge that 60,000 crore rupees, according to a report, were in a way wasted, we must say, wasted in the Lok Sabha elections. And this much is the impact. So we have to talk about that. But it's shocking that there is no specific provision in this RPA Act. Election Commission of India consistently has demanded that this amendment should be there in this particular act, because Parliament has this duty to do that. But in the Parliament, all these politicians only are sitting there, and why they would pass this kind of law? So that's the problem, and that's why they are not bringing this Amendment Act. So 1 and 2 is the correct answer. Third is wrong here. A is the answer, and no specific provision in the law to cancel polls in case of use of money power. There are some rare and indirect extraordinary powers in Article 3 to 4. Those may be applied there by the Election Commission of India, but not normally they are applied. And you see, these years many allegations are there on the Election Commission of India that it is no more an autonomous body, and a lot of pressure is there by the government, and it is favoring the government openly. These kind of allegations we are hearing frequently in the Lok Sabha elections. We heard about them, and Clause 58A is there in this article, the Representative of People's Act 1951, that empowers the ECI to cancel polls only if there is an evidence of booth capturing or there is a use of muscle power. So only on these two grounds it may cancel the polls. So that's the case, and it has to resort to extraordinary powers under Article 3 to 4, which it feels should be used sparingly. And as the word says, sparingly, it has not used it many times. Next, regarding the fundamental duties, you see which of these acts, legal provisions, these are having bearing on the fundamental duties. You see, fundamental duties were not there in the original constitution. Original constitution did not have fundamental duties, but later when the emergency was imposed, then Swarn Singh committee was set up by the Indira Gandhi government, and he actually chaired this committee, and they brought up many recommendations. So according to that, fundamental duties they were created, and first it was a proposal that we should make it enforceable, because in the Swarn Singh committee many recommendations were there which were very objectionable, and they could have changed the Indian polity forever. Like they were suggesting that there should be a presidential system in India instead of that parliamentary system or the Westminster model. And as it is there in America, presidential system is there, and president has enormous powers there. And it was suggested in the Swarn Singh committee that more than American president, India's president would be powerful. But fortunately, these provisions were not accepted by the Supreme Court at that time. So that was huge, and at that time Indira Gandhi really wanted to change the whole system of this country, and that would have been very much unfortunate. But that thing was not possible, and later she lost the government also. So all these three, they actually are having a bearing on the fundamental duties, because you see, as I told you, the proposal was there that the fundamental duties should be enforceable, but today they are not. that thing was not accepted, and these are just moral obligation on the citizens of India. But you see, like fundamental rights, these are not enforceable. Okay, so there can be many laws brought up by the parliament which will have this power that these things will be enforced, like the Insults to National Honors Act 1971. According to it, there are provisions. If somebody would try to insult national flag, national anthem, then he may put behind the bars. So this way, this fundamental duty is enforceable, but not directly like fundamental rights. Nobody can approach Supreme Court for that. There is a law regarding that will enforce that. Right to education, this 11th fundamental duty was added later, and originally 10 duties were accepted in 1976. So Right to Education Act actually enforcing that particular duty, where 6 to 14 years of age kid, he or she must get the education, and the duty is there with the parent or the guardian. So that's the case, and this way it is enforced. So all three are having bearing on that. So D would be the answer here. And let's see, to promote the spirit of patriotism and to uphold the unity of India, these moral obligations were brought up in the Indian Constitution, and it is the part 4A and the article 51A. You see, 12 to 35 are the fundamental rights, and which part? Part 3. Later 36 to 51 is the part 4, which is DPSPs. So DPSPs we have taken from Irish Constitution, as we all know, and this was added later. Article 51A was regarding the fundamental duties. So that's the case, and like the DPSPs, they are not enforceable by the law, and all these details you must remember. Many times these are asked, and you see, Varma committee came in 1999, which was scrutinizing this fundamental duties, and it was observing that some laws are there in India which are actually enforcing the duties there. Like one of the first acts regarding the Wildlife Act of 1972, it brought up many provisions where this duty of the citizens that they should protect the environment and the wildlife, that was enforced here. And the Insult to National Honors Act 71, Prevention of Insult, that was brought up, and Right to Education Act 2009, that is bringing many obligations there. So these 10 were the important duties by the Swansea committee, and 11th was added later. Okay, this 86th Constitutional Amendment Act came in 2002, and according to that, the duty of the people of India to adapt to make India a safer place to live, to be clean and make surrounding clean, and not to hurt anybody physically and mentally. Next, there is a very important question, that is the difference between the fundamental rights and duties. You see, rights, as I told you, they are in the part 3, and they are directly enforceable, and you may call them justiciable in the nature, because you can approach directly Supreme Court or the High Court for that, for their enforcement. Article 32 and 226 is there, but there is no article regarding the fundamental duties enforcement, so these are not enforceable. But as I told you, some acts can be brought up by the parliament, that is the only way to enforce them, but not all of them are taken as laws, and some of them were mentioned there, as the question was asking about the these laws. So these three are actually implementing some of the duties, but not all of them, and automatically they are not justiciable and not enforceable. And fundamental rights are the legal sanction. If we talk in the particular language, then these are the legal sanction and direct enforcement. But parliament can suspend it if there are no warranted through proper legislation. Means by default these are enforceable, but they can be suspended if they are not warranted through proper legislation. Means legislations are also there regarding that. So that's the case. And you see, rights are enjoyed by citizens and foreigners both, but duties, they are applied only to the citizens. That's the case. And rights are actually obligation on the government, means they are stopping government from some arbitrary moves, but the duties, they are the moral obligation on the citizens only. Okay, so that's the case. And these details may be asked. Swansea committee, it was set up in 1976, and it made recommendation regarding fundamental duties, and the need and necessity of which was felt during the operation of internal emergency. That was the internal emergency 75 to 77, and at that time Indira Gandhi government felt that many duties citizens should perform, and even it said that these should be enforceable, but that was not accepted at that time, and that was a good move. And these were some bizarre provisions I was talking about, that these were the recommendations by the 76 committee, and if they would have applicable, then we would have a different country today. Now, just to memorize, I have given this page, and all these important DPSPs are given. DPSPs are part 4, as we all know. These are also not enforceable, unlike the fundamental rights. Okay, next, which among the following is mandated under Right to Education Act 2009 to examine and review the safeguards of the rights of the children? We just talked about the education issue, and this Right to Education Act came in 2009. And many times we talk about Anganwadis and all, and I told you that Ministry of Women and Child Development, that is taking care about that. And in the new draft National Education Policy, it was discussed that this 3 to 6 age, that should be considered under this Right to Education Act. There must be some amendments there, and it should be extended from 3 to 18 years of age. Right now it is there for 6 to 14 years of kids, and they are trying to extend it to 3 to 18 years. It's a proposal there. They are discussing it, and it's not finalized yet. So 3 to 6 is the preschool education and the learning. So Anganwadis would have a very important work there, and Anganwadis are maintained by Women and Child Development. So this ministry is very much applicable there. Ministry of HRD, it is maintaining the education scenario in this country. CBSE, the important board, but the NCPCR, it is the answer here, because it is mandated to examine and review the safeguards of the rights of the children under this particular act. So NCPCR, it has given these two important responsibilities. One is regarding the Right to Education 2009 Act, and one is regarding the POCSO Act of 2012. So these two you must remember. This NCPCR established by an act. So in 2005 there was a particular act, that Protection of Child Rights Act, and it got operationalized in March 2007, 2 years later. And it's a statutory body because it was established by the act, and it is working under the aegis of Ministry of Women and Child Development. So that is no different. It is working under this same ministry only. And there is a convention, UN Convention on the Rights of Children, 1989, and India ratified this in 1992. So this is implemented by this NCPCR only. That's important. And if you talk about the definition of the child, then it would be till the age of 18. We would call all of them children under 18 years of age. These two important functions were assigned to NCPCR. One is regarding RT 2009, and one is POCSO Act 2012. Okay, so it will take all the necessary steps after inquiring into complaints, and it will review the safeguards, examine the safeguards regarding the rights provided under the act. And regarding the POCSO Act, they are much more important. So both are given to NCPCR. And if we talk about the composition of the commission, then 1 chairman and 6 members are there. For chairman, 65 years age is the retirement age, and all of them are appointed by central government, and it may remove them at any time on the reasons of misbehavior and incapacity. So it is all according to the central government. And you see, out of these members, 2 should be women. This is the condition there. Okay, next question. Special Officer for Linguistic Minorities. This is mentioned in the Constitution of India, and they said that President should appoint it as earliest as possible. And in 1957, because the condition was for 10 years, so in 1957 the Office for Special Officer for Linguistic Minorities, that was created and appointed by the President, and there is no mention in the Constitution regarding his removal procedure. Actually, in the Constitution nothing is mentioned whether what would be the service conditions, what would be the tenure and the removal procedure. Nothing is given there. Just President would appoint that. So first is correct, second is correct, and third is also correct, because it is working under the Union Minority Ministry. So through this ministry only it represents the annual report, or the submits the annual report to the President, who later would place it before the Parliament. So it is asking about the not correct provisions. So the answer would be D, none, because all are correct ones. Okay, You see, special officer for linguistic minorities appointed by the President of India. Service conditions, allowances, salaries, and tender, nothing is given in the constitution. So it is all up to the President of India, and through the Union Minority Affairs Minister, he submits the annual report there. There would be annual report. Next, geographical indication. It is out of the WTO framework. This is wrong because there is a TRIPS in a WTO framework, the trade related aspects of intellectual property rights. So according to that, it talks about the geographical indication issue. It is a kind of a geotagging, or you may say geographical area would be there that is associated with some particular agricultural product or some handicraft product or some industrial product, or it may be some natural product. So in these categories, geographical indication is given to some particular product. And you see, recently the Namma Kolhapuri chappal that has been given the award of the GI tag, but it is not only the Maharashtra. Jointly it is given to Maharashtra and Karnataka both, because in the northern Karnataka villages this chappal is made. That's why we call it Namma Kolhapuri chappal. So that's the case. Both these states applied for this geographical indication tag, but now it is given to both of the states. But these are mainly famous with the name of Kolhapuri chappals, and Kolhapur is there in Maharashtra. So that's why many students, without knowing it, would mark it Maharashtra. So this is wrong, and both are wrong here. D1 is the answer. Okay, you see, Lidkar is a particular corporation, that is Leather Industries Development Corporation, and it helps artisans to export the chappals and also tie up with the e-commerce giants so that it can get the world recognition. And jointly the GI tag was received by Karnataka and Maharashtra. That's the case. Okay, because since centuries, and this chappal has been made in village areas of Belagavi, Balaghat and Dharwad also. These are northern Karnataka's districts. So it is not just the Maharashtra, it is also Karnataka. They use vegetable dyes and handcrafted and tanned. These chappals are. Okay. And as I told you, GI primarily an agricultural, natural or manufactured product, and originating from a definite geographical territory. And when it gets the GI tag, after that nobody can copy that particular product and nobody can sell it without the permission there. So it's a kind of assurance of the quality and distinctiveness and attributed to the place of its origin. So these are the important features of it, and protection is given to it. It's a legal protection because it's a IPR, intellectual property rights issue, and it is for a particular period of time. Till then it would be totally protected. Okay, governed by WTO's agreement of TRIPS, and actually we are the signatory here. So we actually passed a law regarding that, and that is Geographical Indication of Goods Registration and Protection Act of 1999, and there is a Trademarks Act of 1999, and by all these acts we are maintaining this issue in our country. Okay, central government may appoint such officers which will designate, and they will discharge these duties. They will superintend the direction of the registrar functions, all the applications that are coming and any kind of issuance for that. So they will take care of that. So that's the issue. And you see, more than 300 products, they have been given the GI tag till now in India. So that's very important, and we will meet again tomorrow with many more questions. So thanks a lot. Keep watching. It was Amit Sani. Go through the PDF also.